generally speaking, I have a very, very positive outlook, really, with anything to do with United. I think just because of when I was born, I started going to the match in 1990, so over 35 years of watching us, I've seen us win 32 major honours. That's as many as Arsenal and Chelsea have won in their entire history. I remember, it's a generational thing. I remember being in the Stretford end for the Real Madrid game in the Champions League in 2000. We were 3-0 down. This is when there was away goals rule. 3-0 down to Real Madrid with 25 minutes to go. We pull one back. And I and everyone else there thought, we've got a chance here. The impossible was always possible. And that is a generational thing. Had I been born 30 years earlier, I would have seen United go through relegation. 30 years later, obviously into far more barren times. So I recognise that I'm very fortunate to have this mindset, really. Or it feels fortunate, maybe I'm just completely unrealistic, who knows. But I just feel like this needs to be said, is that the short-term and long-term future of United will be a lot better if everyone just puts their weight behind Ruben Amorim. And this is based on seeing stuff in the press today, in the Mirror's run debates over his future and so on and so forth, and seeing a lot of online reaction following the Fulham game. And I just feel like there's a need to calm down a touch, or a lot. Now, I understand domestic results are poor. The system hasn't fully clicked yet. There's still a couple of problem areas within the squad that need reinforcement. And probably moreover, it's extremely hard to disassociate what we're seeing now with what happened last season, because last season burnt so badly. But I go back to what Marcus Rashford said recently, which is make a plan, stick to the plan. Just stick to it. Ruben's been backed through last season's bad results. He's been backed in the transfer market in terms of who he's brought in and who he's been allowed to marginalise because they don't fit with his plans or his approach. The players who are there, who are committed to going forward with the club, they like him, they're working hard for him. All parties want to make this work. They're fitter, they're hungrier. And with full weeks between games, it's over to him now to coach these guys and get a tune out of them. That's just how it has to go. In general, I just don't think the culture of immediacy is good. If you'll humour me and bear with me on this. So Sir Alex Ferguson, or just Alex Ferguson as he was back then, arrived at United from Aberdeen in November 1986. So midway through the 86-87 season. By the end of that season, he finished on a 38.7% win ratio. Opening 2 games of the following season, he had 2 points. So Ruben Amorim comes in November 2024. He ends his first half season, or half and a bit season, with a win ratio of 38.1%. 2 games into his first full season, 1 point. You see the point I'm trying to make there. I'm not, for the avoidance of doubt, I am not saying for 1 second that Ruben is the next Sir Alex. There is no next Sir Alex. Let's just put that to bed now. But the numbers do bear comparison. Ferguson had the benefit of time. His first half season, we finished 11th. First full season, 2nd. But then massive relapse into 11th and 13th in his 2nd and 3rd full seasons. Realistically, his job was only saved by that 3rd full season where he won the FA Cup. And, everyone knows what happened next, the dynasty that he went on to create. But he wouldn't have had the chance to do that if they hadn't stuck with him. He wouldn't have had a hope in hell in the current climate with the current scrutiny that's going on. Because he probably wouldn't have got past 3 or 4 months of that season where he came 11th after coming 2nd. The trigger would have been pulled. Since Sir Alex's retirement in 2013, here's how long each manager's had. David Moyes came in as Sir Alex's initial replacement and he lasted 9 months. He was gone by April of his first season. Louis van Gaal, 2 full seasons, went at the end of his 2nd season having won the FA Cup. Jose Mourinho, 2.5 seasons, during which time he won the League Cup, Europa League, and qualified for the Champions League twice. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had the most of anyone, where he had 3 months as interim manager, and then he became permanent manager for 2.5 seasons. He qualified for the Champions League twice. Erik ten Hag, 2.5 seasons. which included obviously Champions League qualification, winning the League Cup and the FA Cup. You've had managers trying to make systemic changes, cultural changes towards realising their own end game, only to leave before they've a chance to complete the process. And with wildly contrasting styles of manager or head coach, that's meant huge expensive changes every time, and each time the job gets harder. David Moyes didn't inherit a squad with disciplinary issues, but 10 years later, Erik ten Hag did, and the job only gets harder and harder as you have to unspool more and more work that's gone before. Say you change head coach again now, the replacement comes into another barely executed plan, and they would just put their own spin on things. At some point, at some times in life, you just have to knuckle down and just work through your problems, and that's where I think we are. There's a lot of background noise as well with the transfer window still being open, so hopefully that'll settle down. I mean, you take the Kobbie Mainoo situation. We've had a flood of stories over the weekend since he didn't start at Fulham, and I question where it's coming from. You know, is it from the player side of things? Is it from clubs looking to unsettle him? Is it from other clubs looking to enact a chain reaction that ends with someone else getting unsettled? You don't know. If it is as simple as Kobbie's not happy at being in the team, then I'll just repeat the point that I made yesterday, and was echoed by Rio Ferdinand. Change Ruben's mind. Knuckle down. Do it on the training pitch, and just make yourself indispensable. Play your way into that team. That's the culture Ruben's trying to get going, where there's not that many games now without Europe, so everyone has to fight. He wants everybody fighting for involvement, and that's no bad thing. It's not that Ruben's really charismatic and he gives good interviews and he gives off good vibes and you're really rooting for him, you hope it works out. It's not that. And I think it is a case of when, rather than if, he gets this squad firing, I can see him being a figurehead for a sustained period of time, just to take the club in the right direction. And I'm not alone in that. You know, I've spoken obviously to a lot of people, a lot of experienced people about this, and amongst those who have seen what a successful regime looks like, there's a lot of backing for him and a lot of patience with him, and that's what I would encourage in general. I might have gone too soon here. You know, it could easily be that I'm overreacting to what I perceive as an overreaction online or in the press, whatever. But just for the avoidance of doubt, for the absolute avoidance of doubt, my position is behind Ruben Amorim, and seeing what happens when we pick a direction of travel and stick to it. But let me know what you think in the comments.